All right, Jared. Preseason started up. Listen, it might be preseason, but John Collins, did you see that dunk last night in the Hawks game? I mean, he's already in midseason form. I think the Hawks are going to be a dangerous team. Nets favored to win the title. The Lakers behind them with second best odds. The GOAT, LeBron James, getting ready for his 18th season.
Ooh.
Hold on. I saw that look you kind of gave. You might not have given. I saw it in the eyes though. LeBron, the GOAT or MJ? Are you? I'm trying to learn you a little bit. We haven't talked NBA. Is LeBron or MJ your GOAT?
Hey, Glaze, why are you trying to play me like
I'm putting
this,
you on the spot
this early in the morning? So I did, luckily, you're not fully putting me on the spot. Luckily, I was able to kind of prep this question a little bit last night. I think if you're asking me who the best all-around basketball player of all time is, I would say LeBron. Because I think he does more than MJ does when it comes to passing, dribbling, just the team element of the game. And it is a team sport, even though I do think if there's one dude I want taking a shot in the last second of a game, I would pick MJ. So I know I'm kind of on the fence and I'm kind of splitting the difference here, but I do think the best overall player that I've ever watched play basketball, granted, I didn't watch a ton of MJ. I was a little on the back end of that run, is LeBron. But I think MJ is the assassin to end all games. That's the dude I want taking the last shot.
We can go on and on about this, but we agree on Bron. Last second shot, I'm going Kobe, man.
I'm going Kobe. Well, that wasn't an option. That wasn't an option. I agree with that. Kobe's an assassin too.
Okay. Well, we can talk more basketball, obviously, as things pick up there. We have so much to get to today. We're going to talk some college football. I'm going to give you my laser sharp college football picks for the weekend. We're going to talk some Thursday night football, big matchup. We got our guy John Hyslop joining the show, and then we're going to finish things up, of course, with our play of the day. So without further ado, let's bet it. And we are going to start with college football. I want to start with Notre Dame. Lauren's not on the show, so I just want to get this
talk
out
all
the
the smack on the Irish.
We got this out the way yesterday. I really want to ask you: is there any chance Virginia Tech right now half-point favorite, so pretty much pick them at home against Notre Dame? Is there any chance Notre Dame loses 2 games in a row? You think?
I think there's a chance. I think earlier in the week I was on Tech. I actually took 1.5, or I got 1.5 points with Tech. And then I kind of backed off of my stance a little bit because I heard news that it looks like it is going to be Drew Pine that's going to start and not Jack Cohn. And I'll be honest, I actually think that's the right move for the Irish long term. I think he offers a little more with his legs. Cohn's a statue, and he did not play well. He hasn't played well in multiple weeks, and I haven't really seen it from him. So I'm fine with Notre Dame making that change. And a lot of times, as you know, college football, things are volatile. You make that quarterback change and something sparks. So I think Notre Dame's down right now, and I'm not willing to pile on considering the volatility that could come with a new quarterback. So I backed away from that game, but I would not be surprised if they lost at Lane Stadium. I don't know if it's called Lane Stadium anymore. If they lost in Blacksburg on Saturday.
It's a night game too. Blacksburg
and it's
at night
huge.
Is a tough place.
Those games are wild at night in Blacksburg. So I wouldn't be shocked if they lost. But because of the volatility of quarterback, it's not a bet for me.
That Notre Dame offense has looked better when Pine comes in too.
I agree.
But I mean, granted, it's small sample size, but I think that he does bring that spark. For me, let me put on my weatherman hat for a second because we're going to get some rain in Blacksburg this weekend.
Oh, wow.
Potentially some rain in the area during the game, definitely in the morning. So I'm actually on the under for this one, 46.5. Notre Dame, aside from the rain, Notre Dame and Virginia Tech both have, I think it's fair to say, bad offenses, right?
Sure.
But good defenses. Notre Dame's defense is a little bit stronger than Virginia Tech's, but Virginia Tech has a strong defense. So I think this is going to just be one of those nasty, ugly defensive games, low scoring. So I'm probably siding with the under. I don't know if I can pick a side. It's pretty much a toss-up for me right now. So the play for me is the under.
I don't mind that at all. When I was looking at this game earlier, I was impressed with Virginia Tech's defense, what they did to Sam Howell week 1, or maybe that was week 0. I get the weeks confused with college football. But the first game of the year, they played really well against Sam Howell. And again, the home element, if you throw in some weather, absolutely the under certainly in play there.
And I love betting an under. So I'm going to roll with another under.
College football unders, man. They're sweaty. Those are sweaty.
I love them. And I'm going to roll with another under in this next game. Georgia, Auburn. Georgia laying 15.5 points on the road. That is just that's a big number there. But I'm going with the under 47.5 for that game because, for a couple reasons. You don't know who's playing quarterback for Georgia yet. JT Daniels still dealing with that lat injury potentially. And when Stetson Bennett's in the game, Georgia just runs the ball. And I think even if JT is able to go, I don't know if they're going to be asking him to do too much too soon unless they need to. So Georgia – we know Georgia for years has been able to run the football. That's what they want to do. So I can see them coming out and trying to do that. But Auburn has one of the best run-stopping defenses in college football. What do they rank? 8th, I believe, in the country.
They looked really good last week.
They look. That's LSU. It's a completely different game. But going back to that LSU game, Bo Nix, wildly inconsistent. That Auburn offense, wildly inconsistent. Bo Nix made some magic happen in Death Valley, but he's not going to be able to make any magic happen against that Georgia defense that is just on a completely different level than everybody else. So I'm gonna just roll with the under 47.5.
I don't mind that at all. Georgia, again, I think when you look at Georgia as a team, there is nothing. I don't think there's a defense better than them in the country.
No,
I do think they're the best defense in the country. And Penn State played them to a tight game, 28-20. So that's, I don't see Auburn scoring more points against Georgia than they scored against Penn State. So to me,
Georgia's only given up one offensive touchdown this year.
Yeah. And I would be shocked if they gave up more than 2 in this game. So if you're telling me Auburn's only going to get 14, and that means Georgia's got to score 35 to sink you.
Exactly. On the road, hostile environment. No,
I would say that game's probably going to be played in a phone booth.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to the other big SEC game. We got Alabama laying 17.5 at Texas A&M. Who you got for that one?
Well, I think Alabama's just going to keep stretching their legs and taking down opponents. The spread is always the great equalizer with them because they don't really care as much to cover the spread in some of these other lesser games. They do care when it's Lane Kiffin and when he says they're going to eat some popcorn on the field before the game or whatever. Well, I don't know, whatever he said before that game, but that wasn't his brightest moment.
Did you say he apologized for that, by the way?
He did. I think it was Jamie Erdahl who was the CBS reporter on the field.
Apologize to Jamie. That's fine, but don't apologize.
Yeah, he's very active on social media for better or for worse. But, I guess that's transparency at its finest. Yeah, it is pretty funny sometimes. But when you look at this Alabama team, there is moments where they've lost a little bit of focus on defense. But I don't know if Texas A&M's the right team to take advantage of that. And again, they don't really like Jimbo Fisher a whole lot. They don't have the same feelings for him as they would some of the former assistants that Nick Saban faces. But I certainly think there is a little bit of animosity there because Jimbo carries himself like he's the best coach, the best guy in the SEC now. So I do think there's a little bit of a spark there, but it's not like it was against Ole Miss, former assistant Lane Kiffin. So I don't know if there's going to be the full throttle down for Alabama, but they look like the best team in the country, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. This is actually one of the Pickswise 3-star best bets of the weekend, courtesy of me, by the way.
There you go.
But, Bama averaging 44 points per game, and I just don't see A&M being able to slow down that offense, 1. 2, that Texas A&M offensive line is beat up. They're young, and this is not the spot to be playing the young guys, and they unfortunately have to do that. And their quarterback, Zach Calzada, has just been really inconsistent throughout the year and hasn't really played some of his best ball at times. And there's literally zero margin for error when you're playing Alabama. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be getting smoked. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this one. Fun fact, though, Alabama has beat A&M by at least 18 points in 6 of their last 7 matchups.
Yeah.
So
Johnny Manziel ain't walking through that door.
No, he's not. And here's the thing. What you could argue is road environment, Bryce Young, how's he going to react? He went to the Swamp and played great a couple weeks ago. I know that game wasn't necessarily great, but that's because Florida was able to just dominate on the ground. Bryce Young played a really, really good game. So I'm not sure he's going to be affected at all by playing in that road. And that's going to be a tough game. That's a tough environment to play in.
Very tough. I think that's tougher than A&M, I would say. But I think for 12th man's pretty good too.
For me,
I think it's more about can Alabama's defense do what they haven't been able to do to some other teams this year, but they were able to do last week. So is this going to be Alabama's defense we saw last week, holding down Matt Corral, who's I would say right now one the best player in the country, maybe top to bottom quarterback wise, or is it going to be what we saw against Florida, which, as you said, a little more porous?
Absolutely. Well, we're going to find out, but that's one of the Pickswise 3-star best bets. So you know which side where I'm on. So
I'm not betting A&M in that game, that's for sure. I'm not taking the points in that game. I'm not fading Bama 2 weeks in a row. I did that last week. Learned my lesson.
I'm gonna make you pick this game. I know you don't want to. This next game, I'm putting you on the spot. These are your guys. Penn State on the road, getting 1.5 points against Iowa. This is the biggest game of the weekend, right? I mean, this is the game.
Absolutely.
This is the game. So I'm going to just defer to you, Mr. Big Ten, and you tell me which side you're on. Mr. Penn State, which side are you on?
I know, and tomorrow I have to wear a Michigan shirt on air because I lost the bet to Lauren last week.
No.
Because I picked Wisconsin. So I'll as much as I love, fading teams that I dislike and betting on teams that I like, this one is tough because this one is I would say this is for all the marbles in the Big Ten. I think the loser of this game is out of the race because the Big Ten's looking okay right now. And I think Michigan, I think Penn State, I think Ohio State, I think they're all in the mix. I think Iowa's in the mix too. But I think this game is going to kind of be a fork in the road for one of these programs this year. One of these programs is going to be a legit national title contender after Saturday. And the other one will be a step behind the 8 ball. The numbers are pretty even. The defenses on both sides are pretty even. The fact that Penn State is catching only 1.5 tells me on a neutral field, this game is pretty much even, maybe slight edge to Penn State. We haven't played well. We have not played well in Iowa City. It's been a house of horrors for us. We have lost games there as favorites. We have lost games there as undefeated teams looking for national title, contention, and gone there and have those dreams ended. But I will say this. My rule is if Penn State is a favorite, I will not bet them. If they are an underdog, they are an automatic play. And that tells you how I feel about this game. They're still an underdog, and my heart and my head says anytime they're an underdog with that defense, you have to take the points, even though it's only 1.5.
That's going to be big in this game.
I could see this game landing on one. It has landed on one in the past. So I could see this game being a 1-point game. If you're getting 2, great. But I don't see how you can't take points in this matchup.
I agree. That's my exact logic.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be a low-scoring, close game. So I'm just taking the points just for that reason alone. But then when I dive a little bit deeper and look at Iowa, obviously they've had a ton of success this year, especially on defense. They turn a lot of teams over. I think Maryland had 7 turnovers last week, 6 interceptions.
Those can be fluky, though. Tough to rely on that every week. Very tough to rely on that every week.
That's my point. They've been really reliant on getting turnovers and turning teams over. And, Penn State, I mean, Sean Clifford's thrown an interception in each of the last 3 games, but they don't really turn the ball over. They don't let those mistakes pile up, right? They might,
and the defense gets a lot of turnovers.
And the defense is
so it could be an even turnover margin, even though Penn State might turn it over on offense. I could see the defense forcing some turnovers too.
Exactly. So I'm going to take, a strong defense. I think the better quarterback, better offense, and I think this is a statement game for James Franklin.
Please.
I really do. I think this is the spot. I mean, this is the spot he wants to be in, right? Like, if you want to be the guy that you say you are, and if you want to be the team you say Penn State is, you win this game.
100%.
So you're getting 1.5. I think, again, low-scoring game, close game. Give me the points.
I will be on the edge of my seat and also it is interesting to note the Big Ten scheduling gods, very favorable to Penn State here.
How is it not a night game?
I don't know.
That's brutal.
We've discussed this on multiple shows and with multiple friends of mine, and there's got to be a cork in the schedule. Michigan plays at night. Maybe it's the Big Ten says that's the ABC national game, Michigan, Nebraska. Maybe they didn't want to conflict Big Ten games. There's some weird language in the TV contracts. I don't know why. It makes no sense to have this game at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock local, which means the entire game will be played in sunlight, maybe with the exception of maybe the very end being dusk. But and to have Michigan be the night game, considering that this is a top 5 game and Michigan, Nebraska's, top 5, but Nebraska's not, ranked. So I don't know. But it favors Penn State because having this game being played in the day, the ghosts come out at night there at Kinnick. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's been demons for Penn State at Iowa and Iowa City. I like the fact that it's going to be daytime before the ghosts, the demons start to creep their way into the Nittany Lions' heads.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk a little bit about that night game before we move on to Thursday Night Football, because I think we're on the different side for this one. You like Nebraska in that matchup against Michigan. What's that line right now?
I saw it at 3. I think you can, if you
last time I saw it
shop,
at
you
3.
can get 3.5. I mean, I faded Michigan last week, and I'm going to eat my words by, humiliating myself on tomorrow's show and wearing a Michigan shirt. But when I look at this game, I feel that if Michigan played an opponent last week that had any semblance of an offensive, strategy, game plan, weapons, it would have been a much different game. Graham Mertz was absolutely awful last week. And Wisconsin is
for the
bad.
second week in a row.
Yeah, Wisconsin is really bad. I don't know if Michigan can play that well again and then rely on Adrian Martinez to play as poorly as Graham Mertz did. Very different animal. Adrian Martinez has been a quarterback that has been very good for a number of years. And I think Michigan's defense is great. The Hutchinson kid's playing out of his mind. But I just feel like the market has moved to a point where I'm not willing to lay points on the road with Michigan in a primetime spot against an offense that has a little more giddy up. And Nebraska's proven themselves to be relatively good. So they kept it close at Michigan State, kept that within the number. They kept it close at Oklahoma, kept that game within the number. They lost week 0 to Illinois. Since then, they're 5-0 against the spread, covering by an average of almost 14 points.
Look at you. Tapping that believe sign behind you for Scott Frost.
I think,
yeah. Scott Frost.
Nebraska's defense is good, averaging just 3.5 yards per carry, opposing rushing defenses here. So I think the ingredients are there, just like last week, where the ingredients were there for Wisconsin, but the difference was Graham Mertz was unable to do anything. Wisconsin had some chances in that game to get back in it, but the offense could not move the ball. I think Adrian Martinez will be a little bit better this week moving the football, and I do think Nebraska keeps this one close, maybe wins.
All right. Well, let's switch gears and talk some Thursday night football. Great game tonight. The Rams on the road at Seattle. The Seahawks, home dogs, getting 2.5 points. And let's bring in my guy, John Hyslop, to talk about this one. All right, John, thanks for joining us. Let's get right into it. What are some of the plays that you like for this game?
There's a few, man. I mean, we should see some points, so that's always good. I like the overs. You know what I mean? You're always looking for those, so points means over. But player prop-wise, I know you like this, Alex. The Darrell Henderson over 64.5
I like that,
yards.
too.
I'm all over that one.
He's a feature back. Like, that's the thing, and he's not being priced like it. And then, I think he had 90% of the snaps last week, so that's elite, bell cow range right there. And he had an injury designation going into that game. So he's fine. You know what I mean? And
the Seahawks run defense, they're the worst run defense in the league right now.
Yep.
I mean, granted, one of those games was against Derrick Henry, where I think he went over 180 yards, but still, they're averaging over 150 yards per game on the ground.
Alexander Madison got him for whatever. It's $112, I think. Last week, Trey Sermon got him for 89. I mean, these aren't household names. You know what I mean? So, and they're not. Also, their offensive lines aren't as good as the Rams. The Rams now.
Whoa!
What?
Trey Sermon didn't have to catch a stray there. I mean,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like he's. Here's the thing about it. You want to know why I'm pretty mad at him? I drafted him in
he's
fantasy football.
I know.
So sorry, Trey.
Little dig
like,
there.
Come on, buddy. But
we're on the same page with that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought those beat writers, I'm kind of mad at them too. The San Francisco, like, how did they not know? That like he was going to be an inactive week 1. I mean, a healthy scratch. Like, come on, guys. Like, it's like a 6th-round pick. But
when I look at this game, Slop, the Rams defense really scares me. What's going on with that? How is the Rams defense? How is any defense with Aaron Donald a bottom half unit in the league against the run? In the bottom half of the league, that makes no sense to me. And Arizona shredded them on Sunday. Absolutely shredded them. Over 200 yards combined rushing. Now, I know Russell Wilson's not going to run it like Kyler Murray did, and he's not the same threat that Kyler Murray is. But I would argue that Seattle presents a much different challenge offensively than what the Rams saw against the Cardinals, which is a little more spread it out, a little more, hey, Russell with his legs maybe throwing it on the run. It does, to me, the Rams defense, if they can't stop Russell Wilson and if they play just as bad as they did on Sunday against the Cardinals. This could be a really long night for them.
More points, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just throw them on the board. You know what I mean? Let's go up and down the field, both of them. I mean, they're sustaining drives, both teams. So that's a good thing for the running backs' rushing totals, obviously, because they got to be on the field to get their yards. But no, last week I think it was more of a letdown spot. I mean, you beat the Super Bowl champions the week before. Everybody's singing your praises. I mean, dude, if you're on Twitter, you know, like you're winning the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden now you have to play next week, and guess what? The Cardinals are good. So that's pretty much what happened, I think. And I think this week it's a get right spot. Definitely, it starts with Henderson though. That Rams offensive line is actually good. I think they're like 7th in adjusted line yards, that's a pretty predictive stat. I mean, yeah. So if he plays 90% of the snaps again and he gets 15 carries.
Yeah,
we're good, man. Like he's going over 64.5 yards.
Slop, either I figured something out or this is really bad for you because props have not been kind to me at all this year.
Nice.
Props are I've been terrible with props. So we're on the same side with that one. So I'm feeling good. I don't know if you should feel so good. Another prop that I love tonight, Higbee, over 41.5 receiving yards. Seattle against tight ends this year. We got Kittle going 4 for 40. Tyler Conkin, 7 for 70, and then Michael Pruitt, 3 for 43. Higbee, you know, I think he's worth a flyer tonight. The Rams have so many weapons. I just look at those numbers that the defense is giving up to tight ends, and I think it's worth a flyer because, you know, 2 catches could put you over 41.5 yards in this league.
Exactly, especially a guy like Higbee, too. I mean, they get him his A-dot's a little higher than some of the tight ends, so if he's catching it, you know, 10 yards away from the line of scrimmage, that can only help. You know what I was also looking at was Stafford's longest completion. It's 39.5 yards. That's not that bad. I mean, he's done that 3 or 4 games. Last game was the time he didn't, but it was a 35-yard. He had a 35-yard pass. So it's not like, close. You know, it's not like it wasn't close. Seattle's given up 2 such plays this year. One was last week with that Deebo Samuel reception. I mean, nobody covered him. So that was
you and I could have scored on that.
Exactly. But against, I think it was Tannehill, he had a 50-yard completion on him. Also, Carson Wentz was the other quarterback they played. So I mean, I think he had like a 25-yard. So that's like a 50-yard for other guys. So. You know what I mean? Like that's somebody else's 50-yarder.
So, poor Carson Wentz.
It happens, man. I mean, we got 2 sprained ankles, and it's not easy.
Yeah, tough to throw. I'll be honest. So these games, first of all, Thursday night games, as we've discussed, and you're kind of our Thursday night guy now. They do carry a little bit of a different aura about them, and this one carries even more intense aura because of the divisional nature and because of just how good these teams are, I think, you know, with their past and maybe their expectations. Does that change your handicap at all tonight? I know we talked about this last Thursday. Each Thursday night game has its own personality to it. What is the personality of this one tonight? Do you think that the intense nature of the game might actually lend to fewer points? Or do you think, hey, listen, these teams really want to get at each other and the pace is going to be pretty hot?
I mean, it's tough to say unless, like, you're in the locker room with these people.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because, I mean, they're humans. It's not like, you know, they're not robots. So, going back, they played on Thursday night before. I mean, we can look it up, but it's –
last year. It was a close game, too.
Yeah,
very close game.
They're good teams. I mean, at the end of the day, they're 2 good teams. So, it's not like you're going to see one not show up, especially the Rams. Like, you know they're showing up after what happened last week.
Coming off a loss, right.
Yep. So that's the best part about it to me is the road team's definitely showing up. So since that fact is, you know, a fact, we're going to just say we're going to go over, you know what I mean? Just treat it like a normal game. I don't know that it's necessarily going to go over 54, but I think it comes in that range, putting all player props pretty much, you know, in play.
I'm not going to tell you which side I'm on. I'm going to save that for the end, but just humor me here and help me think through this as we look at the side for this one. Seattle division game, home dog. I mean, just what are you thinking when you look at the sides for this one?
Rams by double digits.
Wow.
Yeah, I like them, man. They're good. Like, here's the thing: you can't sit the fence. You know, like, what do you think? Like, that's the way I kind of look at it. It's like, what do you really think is going to happen? You know what I'm saying? I don't think the Seahawks are good. Like, that's their problem. Like, they're being like, we're looking at the last few years. Well, probably longer now, but they were good for a while. Going to Seattle was a big deal. Like, all those things. Is that true anymore? Like, are people afraid to go to Seattle? Team. And then at the same time, a pissed off Rams team. I don't know if I'd want to have Seattle plus 2.5 tonight. You know what I mean? You're hanging out, you're watching the game, and then Matt Stafford's dropping dimes all over the place. Seattle couldn't move the ball last week against the 49ers. And watch the first half again. There was like maybe 4 minutes left in the second quarter, which when they finally went down the field and scored. But I mean, they just couldn't do anything. And that was the Niners. Like that, that's not a good team. I mean, they're not horrible, but they're not great either. So
I mean, the other thing too, when you look at that matchup, I mean, you brought up the Niners. I mean, they're pretty much having like practice squad guys play DB now. I mean, we're talking about Jalen Ramsey. We're talking about Jalen Ramsey now. It's a completely different matchup for them defensively.
Yeah, like I said, I'd just be scared to have the Seahawks. I mean, like, I do like the home dog. I love all those narratives, and it's Thursday night. They didn't have to travel, all that stuff. But, dude, it's
just bad.
The Rams are good, man. Like, they're actually a good team. So it's just a tough time to be holding a Seahawks ticket, if you ask me.
Yeah. Jared, you got anything else?
Yeah, well, I'll throw in my, Thursday night, I like to play the touchdown props. Those are my favorites to play on Thursday night. I'll give you the Rams one first. And I'll be honest, I'm putting this on a first touchdown alert too, because I think Matthew Stafford likes to throw deep bombs early in the game and establish the deep ball. And how is Deshaun Jackson 5-1 to score tonight? I mean, I feel like that, to me, he's the guy that stretches the field. If you were going to ask me the perfect receiver for Matt Stafford's, throwing style, which is throw the ball down the field as far as you can, Cooper Kupp's great, but he's more of a possession guy. Robert Woods has been totally brushed aside in this offense. Deshaun Jackson has already had one of those games where he stretched the field, scored a touchdown, made everybody look really slow in the process. I got plus 525 on Caesars this morning, and I sprinkled 22-1, just a little baby sprinkle, for him to score the first touchdown of the game. So that's on the Rams side. On the Seahawks side, I talked about the Rams struggling to run the ball. If there's a game script for Seattle to win this game tonight, it's going to be Alex Collins, who I think is going to get the lion's share of the carries with Chris Carson banged up. And I think it's Russell Wilson controlling tempo with his arm and his legs. I got both Collins and Russ at 4-1 to score an anytime touchdown tonight. Collins had 10 for 44 and a touchdown last week. Again, I mentioned the Carson injury. That line's moved a lot because of the Carson injury. I would still play it at, I think it's like plus 150 now. I'd still put a sprinkle on it. And Russell Wilson, 3 straight weeks, a quarterback has scored a rushing touchdown on Thursday night. So I'm going to ride that trend. Certainly not going to be Stafford. And I'll do a little sprinkle on Wilson.
I was going to say, we've been throwing these out too, the quarterback touchdowns.
We hit Lawrence last week.
Every week. It hits. Every time it hits too, I'm just like shaking my head, like how, like what's happening right now? Like why? Like,
don't miss the boat this week, Slop. Get it on Russ.
Now you can't. Like, you literally can't do it now because I don't want to be the guy to mess it up for everybody. So it's like, all right, well, it's like a party that you're not invited to, but
you guys are all invited. Everyone's invited to the touchdown party tonight.
Here, you know what? I hate touchdown props. I hate them just because we should be getting way better odds. That's all. I just want better odds.
That's fair.
But Gerald Everett is like plus 350 tonight.
That's a good one.
If he plays, here's the thing, like either he's going to play or he's not, right? So if he's inactive, then your bet's gone. Doesn't matter. If he does play, dude, plus 350. If you get that now before they announce him active, you can get it. And all he has to do is pass another COVID test, which I think he already passed one. So he could legit play. And the Rams don't cover the tight end very well, especially down in the red zone. I mean, obviously it's a revenge game for him, but
I like that.
Plus 350. I mean, that's not that bad.
I'm done with touchdown props. I'm done with touchdown props after Mike Williams dropped, or that ball was overthrown Monday Night Football. After I mean, it's got to be the only overthrown ball that Herbert's. I mean, wide open dude. And I'm just
Alex, The worst part about that was, besides me having his longest reception over 24.5 yards, like I see the side. So like, you know how you watch the game when you have a prop, you're watching your receiver.
Yeah.
So you know where he's at, and you see Herbert looking that way, and you know it's a fly route. Yeah, you know it's a fly route because like just how quick it's happening, and you're like here we are, right? And then it pans to him, and you're like, oh shit! Like that ball's not even close. Like you see, like he like grabs it, he falls, and you're like, that's it. You know, like we're not getting another one like that. Like he was literally past the guy. Like it was like the guy was a turnstile. Like at the subway. We don't need
to revisit Monday Night Football too much. Then he's matched. Then he's matched up with a 5'8" corner for the entire second half.
Never gets
he doesn't get any looks.
And it's like, what's happening right now? Like, and then on top of that, like, not to bring that up again, but they keep talking about how accurate Herbert's been. Well, he's only had 5, and you're like, dude, well, what about the one where he threw into the crowd?
Yeah, what about that one?
Yeah. We only remember the bad ones. You don't remember the dimes that he's dropping in the corner of the end zone of the other players.
Like, I'm a Herbert guy, but I'm a little less of a Herbert guy. Like, give me a couple more weeks, maybe that changes, but like a little bit less. Yeah, like that hurt, man. I mean, that hurt really bad. Like, when you see it happening like beforehand and you just know like, all right, there it is. And then that happens. It's tough. It's like Marquise Brown on his drop touchdowns against Detroit. Imagine having that.
Hollywood. He's
Hollywood now.
He's Hollywood
now after last week. But no,
he made up for it.
Remember those? He dropped like 3 of them. And like, imagine having that. Like that would like ruin you forever on touchdown.
You'd have to stop. I tell people to stop gambling for the night.
Yeah, like I don't know that I could keep gambling. I mean, obviously I would.
Obviously you will. Come on, Slop.
I would find a way because I'm tough. Like I'm mentally tough like that. I can find a way to gamble.
Nobody's tougher than Slop.
But man, listen, that's brutal.
We will not need to be mentally tough tonight. All our bets are gonna hit.
Yeah.
Slop, thanks for joining us tonight or today as usual. And listen, good luck tonight, man.
Oh, I'm gonna need it.
All right, let's transition into our Pickswise best bets. And Jared, let's start with the 3-star play of the day. What you got?
Well, actually, again, nothing today, unfortunately. It could change when we get to tonight. I will give you a shout out. You've got a 3-star play on the site right now with Bama on Saturday. And I'll also give Stephen Hall a shout. He's got San Diego State laying 19.5. I don't even know who they're playing. Go read about it on the site. That's a Saturday game. But again, no actual 3-star plays today as of now. But I will give your college football picks a shout for Saturday. It does look like Bama. I would be very surprised if they don't lay a hammer down on A&M on Saturday.
Bonus, that first half line, whatever that is.
Ooh, a bonus 3-star.
I love a first half.
Especially when you're laying a lot. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Well, here's what I got for my play of the day. I'm going to look to the Thursday night game, and like Slop said, I'm going to lay the 2.5 with the Rams. As much as I want to side with the home dog here, I just think this is a really bad spot for them. Sean McVay has a lot of success in this spot. The Rams tend to bounce back following a loss, and Sean McVay covers at a high clip in this spot here. So I'm going to side with the better coach, better quarterback, and better defense, and laying less than a field goal. I'll take it.
I don't mind it at all. The Rams heading into last week were my number 1 team in the power rankings, and as good as Arizona looked, you can't knock them too far down the list based off one game. And I thought Seattle was still pretty low.
I've also hit 3 straight best bets. So this is going for 4.
You're hot, bro. Absolutely hot. Don't fade. Just like don't fade the Cardinals when they were winning 17 in a row. We can't fade AG right now with his best bets. All right, I'm going back to baseball. I'm glad that we get baseball back every day now for at least a couple of weeks, because I do think you're going to see a lot of interesting opportunities arise in the lines, because I think in the baseball playoff markets, they might not be factoring in some of the intangibles like what I'm about to mention here with this Astros-White Sox game. A lot of it is based off of power ratings and how you were during the regular season, and sometimes those stats don't carry over. And I think the Astros are a little undervalued in this game. At home, game 1 of a series, and they have owned the White Sox in Houston. They're 4-0 against them this year. And when I look at these two pitchers, I see a distinct separation between Lance McCullers and Lance Lynn. And Lance Lynn had a really great first half. He was a Cy Young candidate, and it just went off the rails in the second half. He had a 1.99 ERA in the first half, 3.66 in the second half. That's a huge difference. You have been pitching significantly worse in the second half. Meanwhile, Lance McCullers pretty consistent. 2.94 first half, 3.38 second half. So he's been consistent throughout the whole year. Lance McCullers has the playoff success. He's really good in the postseason. 3.28 ERA, 107 whip. Lance Lynn, not great in the postseason. Nearly a 5 ERA and a 1.6 whip. Funny things happen in the playoffs. And I don't think you could look at the White Sox really good regular season and make it a translation to their postseason. I think that they fell off a little bit, and I think Houston's playing better in the second half. And I'm only laying 30 cents at home for the Astros to win this game. And you're also on the series price. You're only laying about 20 or 30 cents. I think the Astros win this series. I'll give you one more series bet. The Red Sox are not beating the Rays 3 out of 5. It is not happening.
Not happening.
I don't care how much you lay. I laid 65 cents at DraftKings this morning. I'd lay up to $2 worth. I just don't see it happening 3 out of 5 games. Maybe they win 1. Maybe they win 2. I cannot see them winning 3 out of 5 against this really deep, talented, and playoff ready. They were in the World Series last year. Same roster pretty much. World Series contender, the Tampa Bay Rays. They get overlooked every year. They're overlooked again, but the odds makers aren't overlooking them. $2 you have to lay to bet the Rays to win the series. That's for a reason. Tampa Bay is going to win this series.
Okay, well, I like those picks. But look, we got to get out of here. Good luck with your picks.
Thank you, sir.
And
You too.
listen, the only way to win is to bet, right? So let's bet it. Let's bet it. And good luck tonight.